Well, becoming a mother for the first time is truly wonderful, but it is also completely terrifying. There's, sleepless nights, there's countless hours spent pacing back and forth, and a lot of isolation that no one talks about, and that nagging anxiety that you are never doing quite enough. And this is all compounded by cultural pressures to do it all, and I guess a serious lack of support for new parents navigating all this uncertainty.
Okay, so our next guests hope that by sharing their own personal struggles, they can actually help spark this national conversation around maternal mental health. Psychologist Suzie Plush and entrepreneur Lucy Quinlan join us now in the Weekend Today studio. Thank you, ladies. It's lovely to see you. Suzie, I want to start with you and this personal essay that you've written titled "I'm a Psychologist and I Still Had a Breakdown." Tell us about the story behind it and why, I guess, you wanted to write it.
Yeah, I wanted to share this story because I wanted women to feel less alone. And I think there's so much pressure on modern day women to have it all together. And even as a psychologist and a careers expert, I had every advantage and so many tools, and yet I still struggled enormously. And, it was almost a decade ago I had my first child, and he had undiagnosed silent reflux. And for any parents that have reflux babies, they know the reality of that. And it was a lot of sleepless nights, sleep deprivation, and I ended up in a real spiral and developed significant anxiety. So I just wanted to share my story to bring more light to this issue. I think it's interesting, there's been some new research that says that the greatest shame trigger for women is that they can't do it all.
Yeah.
And I often say, you're not doing anything wrong. We were never designed to do it all alone.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're sharing this story.
I think the do-it-all thing, the career, the being a mum, I think it's an illusion. I think it takes a village. That, it sounds like a cliche, but it truly does. Yeah. Lucy, with you, you've also been very open and honest with your own struggles after the stillbirth of your second child.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it was like trying to navigate that difficult time?
Yeah, it's like Suzie has mentioned, it's incredibly isolating when you don't feel as though anyone else can truly understand, I suppose. So obviously, there's different support networks that you can reach out to, but what happens behind closed doors is something that doesn't go away, and you feel as though the whole world is just moving on after you've, had your care packages and whatnot, which is wonderful. But it's those months and years that go on, and subsequent children and toddlers that are running around while you're trying to navigate this grief, while having to deal with managing the household. You actually cannot stop. You probably know, if you're a parent and you get sick, it doesn't stop parenting, you still need to parent. But the difference, I suppose, with when you're suffering these mental health grief and other sort of isolating situations, it's, incredibly challenging. I actually pulled myself out of it, I suppose, after about 6 months by dedicating my time to making sure that other people didn't feel that way. I was noticing on Facebook that lots of parents were saying that they were struggling, particularly mothers. And so I actually went out and started helping other mums in the house with the things that I could do to allow them to concentrate on the things that only they could do, which was being the mum. And so I would rush around the house and help with all of the other little things that were, practical support.
How wonderful that you did that for other women.
Thank you. Yeah. So it started as a hobby, and it sort of just spiraled out of control because the demand was just so strong. So it was an incredible journey.
Suzie, verbalising, I'm a psychologist and I still had a breakdown. What was that like to actually say those words? Because you must have been in a really tough spot.
Yeah, I really was. And luckily I had a great network of support, and I got the support that I needed to get through that. But I think being a psychologist, I'm like, how can I use my experience to create a greater purpose? And Lucy and I both said, we've experienced pain in the past. How can we move to post-traumatic growth, which is using our pain to fuel something that's going to help so many other women? And that's what really led us to create the Villey app, which is really a movement to support women across Australia, so you know that you are not alone and that there's a community behind you. If you need support, you can jump on, you can post what you need, and there's women in your community or people in your community that can come and help with the practical components. And I think as a psychologist, what I realised was practical strategies and CBT and psychological advice is fantastic, but sometimes when you're in survival, you just need an extra pair of hands to come in and support you, and we think there's a real gap in that space. And that's why, we created the Villey app. Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about this off air, but you essentially blow up your life when you have a kid.
Yep.
You blow up your life biologically, you know, your family completely changes, your relationship with your partner completely changes.
Yep.
But a lot is focused on the birth and the actual delivery of the baby and not so much
100%.
about that, you know, first 6 months to a year after the bub is born.
Yeah, and then, you know, the expectation to go back to work. It's, well, who's going to be helping?
Yeah.
Who's helping behind the scenes? We all show up in our daily lives to be the people that we need to be, but behind the scenes, there are struggles that cause resentment, that cause isolation, that cause, you know, these feelings of, oh, well, you're not doing enough. And it's just not the way that we really should be living. We should have, you know, pride in asking for help. And what the Villey app does is it allows for people in their local neighbourhoods to jump on and offer practical support where needed. It's an incredible way that helped me mentally get over a struggle, but also to give myself some financial independence as a stay-at-home mum.
Well, I think the Villey Motherhood app is a great move. Thank you, Lucy and Suzie.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
And if this has raised any concerns for you, there is help. Contact Lifeline 13 11 14. And for more information on the Villey Motherhood app, VILLEY, head to the website you can see on the screen there.